Welcome to my webinar. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my webinar. This webinar is entitled How to Stop Sugar Cravings Without Feeling Deprived. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sherry Porter, and I'm actually a nurse practitioner. I work in cardiology. I've been working in cardiology about 14 years. I see patients with heart diseases such as heart attacks and heart failure. I see patients with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, lots of chronic health problems. I'm also a health coach. And as a health coach, I specialize primarily in helping people understand their risk for heart attack and stroke. And I try and help them reduce their risk of heart attack and stroke by making lifestyle changes. In my practice as a nurse practitioner, I prescribe a lot of medications and procedures. And what you need to know is these medications and procedures oftentimes can't cure chronic disease. Let me say that again because it's an important point. Medications and procedures often can't cure chronic health problems. So they oftentimes can decrease indicators of disease and they can decrease symptoms of disease, but they often can't cure chronic disease. So for example, if you have high blood pressure and you're on medications to treat that, the medications cause changes in your body that lower your blood pressure down towards more normal numbers. That lowers your risk for kidney disease, kidney failure, heart failure, stroke, and lots of other problems. But if you stop taking your medication, your blood pressure goes right back up because we didn't cure the disease with the medication. Same happens with high cholesterol. You take medications for high cholesterol and it lowers your number by changing things in your body. It causes changes in your body that lowers those numbers in your labs to more normal numbers. It reduces inflammation in your arteries and it reduces the progression of plaque. It slows that down. But if you forget to take your medications, those numbers go right back up and you're right back where you started because we didn't cure those problems with medications. In addition, research tells us that what we eat, what we drink, and what we do contributes in large part to the diseases that we get. So it's my goal to help people make healthy lifestyle changes to reduce their need for medications and procedures. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to share my screen with you. That may take a second here. I'm going to show you my slides. There we go. All right, what we're going to cover here today is we're going to talk about the nature of sugar cravings. We're going to talk about the body's response to sugar when you eat it or you drink it. We're going to look at problems associated with overconsumption of sugar. And we're going to look at where you find sugars in foods, as well as covering strategies to reduce cravings for sugar and sugar consumption. Before we get into the details of the webinar today, I want to tell you a little bit about my story that led me to doing health coaching and this work in particular. Over 20 years ago, before I had my first child, my schedule was pretty hectic. You know how it is when you're working full time and raising a family and taking your kids all the places they have to go. You run from the moment you wake up until the moment your head hits the pillow at night. There was no time in my schedule for crises. And at the time, we were eating a lot of fast food, often in the car on the way to the next activity. I learned how to eat an entire meal in just a couple of minutes. No kidding. Even before I had my own family and children, my early 20s, I learned how to eat a meal in 2 or 3 minutes because of the nature of my work. That's what I had to do or I didn't get to eat. So my habits, my eating habits, that is, gave new meaning and depth to the phrase inhaling food. Over time, I gained weight and I noticed that I was feeling tired all the time. I never felt rested. And what's worse is I began to notice that if I was late for a meal, I'd get the shakes and I'd break out in a sweat. Oftentimes, this happened in the middle of the day around lunchtime if my meal was delayed at lunchtime, which happens a lot in the work that I do. I'd get very irritable and hungry, and if I delayed long enough, I would get this sense of impending doom and panic. It got to the point that I had to carry around food with me in my pocket. I would carry granola bars or breakfast bars or cereal, some kind of snack in my pocket that didn't have to be refrigerated. Um, and it was for the sole purpose of preventing these symptoms because they were pretty horrible. Unfortunately, I thought all this stuff was a fact of life, a simple fact of life, something that I really couldn't do anything about because I was much too busy for change. I was too busy to take care of myself. In the back of my mind, I was concerned about my weight gain, and I thought that if I ate better, perhaps I would feel better. I thought I really should do something about it, but I didn't really know what to do. So I thought about exercise, but I didn't know when that would fit that in my schedule. And meals at home, I thought, well, gee, even if I had the time for it, where am I going to get the energy to do the planning, the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning? How am I going to do all that? Every once in a while, I would get motivated and kind of research what might be healthy meals to eat. And I found that exercise completely overwhelming every time I did it. There's a lot of conflicting information out there about what's actually healthy. One expert says you need to eat meat. It'll help you stay full longer, and it has lots of protein, which you need. Another expert might tell you, don't eat meat. There's horrible stuff in meat nowadays, and that stuff will kill you, so don't eat it. So it was very overwhelming for me to know how to prepare healthy meals for my family and how to fit it in my lifestyle. At the same time, I was seeing patients in the cardiology clinic, and many of them were quite sick. They had multiple health problems, and they were taking multiple medications and having test and procedure after test and procedure. And they were telling me they felt bad. Some of them complained of lightheadedness and dizziness, muscle aches and pains. They were tired all the time. They couldn't lose weight. Their blood pressure was getting worse. Their cholesterol was getting worse. They were not getting better despite all the best medicine we had to offer. And I kept coming back to nutrition. I kept thinking if we could do something about nutrition, things would turn around. So this led me to enroll in a nutrition program at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And I went there with the goal of trying to learn facts about healthy eating and how to counsel patients about healthy eating. But I learned so much more than that. I got a much more intimate understanding of how lifestyle choices play a major part in health and in illness. And I learned how to make positive changes and methods for making positive change. I began making small progressive changes in my own life. And those small and progressive changes helped me lose weight. I gained more energy, my thinking got more clear, and I totally eliminated those low blood sugar episodes that I was having all the time. When I began to see results in my own life, I started counseling patients in the clinic to make slow, progressive changes. And one of the biggest areas where I have witnessed change in patients is when they reduce sugars in their diet. This alone has contributed to weight loss, gains in energy, and reduced feeling poorly. They may have reduced their need for medications entirely, or we may have been able to even decrease some of their medications. You may or may not be aware, but heart disease is the #1 killer of adults in the United States, and this fact has been true for several decades despite advances in medicine and healthcare. One of the major contributors to heart disease and other chronic diseases like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes is the overconsumption of sugar. So that's the focus of today's webinar. I want to begin by talking briefly about the history of sugar consumption. In the 1700s, the average person consumed about 4 pounds of sugar per year, and that amounts to about 1 1/4 teaspoons of sugar per person per day. This amount increased because we really like sugar. It's continued to increase. In the 1800s, we were consuming 18 pounds of sugar per person per year. And in the 1900s, we were consuming 90 pounds of sugar per person per year. And in the 2000s, those numbers have doubled. I've seen numbers as high as 180 pounds of sugar per person per year. And that amounts to a half a pound of sugar per person per day. So we're consuming in a couple of days what it took someone 300 years ago an entire year to consume. And I ask clients all the time about their consumption of sugar, how much sugar they're actually consuming. And a lot of them tell me they really aren't getting very much sugar at all. And that's because they think I mean cakes, pies, and candy and things like that. But actually, most of us aren't aware of how much sugar we eat each day. And that's because a lot of sugars that we eat are hidden in processed and prepackaged foods. And so people don't know why it is they can't lose weight, why it is they feel so tired all the time and like they just don't have any energy. So I do a little exercise usually with people to talk about their relationship with food to help you understand that a little better. My favorite sweet is Bavarian cream donuts when I was growing up. And today, I would say my favorite sweet is cheesecake. And when I eat cheesecake, I mean, I love cheesecake. I can eat almost any kind. I feel really good. I feel like it's my own slice of heaven. I get a burst of energy, my thinking is sharper, and I feel like I'm on top of the world. Then in about 20 to 30 minutes, I can clock it. I start to notice that I get sleepy, like I need a serious nap. I'm tired, I'm drowsy. I guess my family would say that I'm irritable and cranky. And I may even get hungry, even though I've just eaten. Do you feel like any of this has happened to you? Do you feel like when you eat something sweet that you enjoy it and you feel good for a little while, and then afterward you're tired and cranky and moody and hungry and maybe even get a headache? Well, today we're going to talk about 6 proven ways to kick your sugar cravings. Now, these strategies work because they take into account not just what you're eating, but also why you're eating it. And I want to mention the strategies and the advice that I'm going to give you today are not typical of what other diet and nutrition guidance may have been before. So I would suggest that it's not about willpower, and I'm going to show you why it's not about willpower, just giving up sugar and avoiding the cravings, avoiding responding to the cravings. And also, I'm going to ask you to listen to your body. Try to determine what your cravings are trying to tell you. There are many reasons that we eat sugar besides being hungry. There are many reasons that we eat in general besides being hungry. People eat when they're bored, when they're tired, when they are stressed out, when they're sad, when they're depressed, when they're lonely, when they're excited. We celebrate by eating. Okay, so try and figure out what your cravings are trying to tell you. And the third thing is I'm going to talk about how TV might actually be making you hungry, tired, or overweight. So what happens when we eat food? Generally what happens is the food gets to your stomach, it gets digested, and products like sugar, vitamins, and minerals get absorbed into the bloodstream. And what gets absorbed into the bloodstream has the power to affect the functioning of all the cells in your body. It has the power to affect the functioning of all the tissues and the organs in your body. And it has the ability to affect even your thoughts and feelings. It's true. We think differently when we eat meat than when we eat broccoli. We feel differently when we drink water than when we drink alcohol. Our minds and our bodies respond differently when we eat a bag of pretzels versus eating an apple. So why do we crave? Let's talk about chocolate, for example. we crave chocolate, right? And when we eat it, we feel happy, we get a burst of energy, and truth be told, we're kind of in love, right? We're kind of in love with it. I had a client tell me that she thinks of Snickers bars as her little friends. She would carry them around with her everywhere she went because she felt good when she ate them. So eating this chocolate, this lady looks like she's in love with it. And the truth be told, consuming sugar is a little like being in love. The brain releases chemicals when we eat sugar or drink sugar, and it's those same chemicals that are released when we're falling in love. So serotonin is a calming neurotransmitter that gets released. It makes us feel relaxed, and sometimes if you have enough of serotonin, it will make you a little sleepy, relaxed enough to go to sleep. Dopamine and norepinephrine give you a little more burst of energy, and it makes you feel pretty alert. Endorphins are your body's natural tranquilizers. It makes you feel joy. You feel really good, just like when you're in love. So the same chemicals are released when we ingest sugar as when we're falling in love. And after that initial burst of euphoria, calm, and love, what happens next? Well, I like to say we've climbed aboard the sugar roller coaster. And this is it. When we consume sugar, you get that high energy, joyful rush. So you're climbing up the roller coaster. You're high and happy. You're going to reach a peak and then you're going to start to crash. When you crash going down the roller coaster, you have mood swings like anxiety, impatience, irritability. Your energy is low. You may feel sleepy or tired. You may actually feel hungry even though you just ate not too long ago. And some people complain of headaches. So if you look at the picture of the lady sleeping at the computer, that's how a lot of us feel in the afternoons, right? At work. We're looking for some kind of pick-me-up in the afternoon because we're about ready to fall asleep. And when you get off sugar, you can eliminate that completely. This is a sugar roller coaster in our bodies. If you look at the gray area, that pale gray area in the middle, that bar that says normal blood sugar level, that's supposed to stand for the range at which our body tries to maintain a normal body sugar, normal blood sugar rather. The body wants to maintain it within a certain narrow range. It doesn't like too much sugar and it doesn't like too little sugar. Just likes a little bit in case you need it. And if you have too much or too little, it goes into an emergency rescue mode to try and fix it and bring it back to normal. So let's say you eat that muffin in the morning and it puts a lot of sugar into your bloodstream all at one time. So you're getting happy, you're going up the roller coaster, right? And your body says, oh my God, there's too much sugar in the bloodstream. We need to do something about that to fix it. So insulin is released from the pancreas. Insulin pairs with sugar to remove sugar from the bloodstream so that your blood sugar levels can get more normal. Insulin is like a lock that takes sugar to a certain spot. Insulin is actually like a key, and it takes sugar to the cell and finds the lock that it can fit into. Okay, so it's a lock and key mechanism and it opens the door to the cell and sugar can enter the cell. And then the cell will take the sugar and make energy from it and move forward. So insulin pairs with sugar and removes sugar from the bloodstream into the cells. But because you ate this muffin and you got a lot of sugar into the bloodstream at one time, you make a lot of insulin too. And the unfortunate thing is your blood sugar gets too low. It overshoots. You crash. Your blood sugar level gets low. And so you start feeling like you're craving something to eat, or you're tired or sleepy or irritable, or you have a headache and you're starting to look for a pick-me-up, so you go get some coffee or you get some donuts or whatever, and you eat it, and again, it puts a lot of sugar into your bloodstream at one time. So you're back on the happy, things are going well, you're feeling good, climbing the roller coaster, and your body sees all that sugar and it says, oh my God, I need to release some insulin to get this sugar back down to normal. It releases a lot of insulin, and unfortunately, when the insulin pairs with the sugar and takes it to the cells, sometimes the cells are full because they haven't used up the energy you put in there from earlier. So it doesn't allow insulin to open the door and let sugar in. And so the only thing insulin can do at that point is make fat. And it'll make fat to store the sugar for later when the famine comes, right? But for us, the famine never comes, so you don't burn that stored energy. In either case, your blood sugar plummets because insulin's done a very good job of removing sugar from your bloodstream, but it overshoots, and so your blood sugar gets low. And so in your afternoon crash, you're looking for some pick-me-up, and you find some cookies. And you can see this is a pattern, this up and down, up and down, up and down all day long, and it wreaks havoc on your body. It's exhausting for your body to live this way. So you're feeling tired all the time because of it, and you never recover. You're always up or you're down. I want to mention this Frappuccino that's there at the top of the slide doesn't have caramel sauce or whipped cream, but it has as much sugar in it as 3 donuts. So it's time that you start learning what's in the food and the drinks that you are consuming, because it's a lot more sugar than you realize, and that's contributing to some of the health problems that you have. I want to help you understand that for many people, sugar is an addictive substance. And just like other addictive substance, when you have a little bit of it, that little bit creates a desire for more. So you eat a bite of a cookie, and before you know it, you've eaten 3 or 4 cookies because you just kept craving. You eat a sliver of a piece of pie, and you go back for more and more and more because you couldn't fight the cravings. When you withdraw from sugar, like other addictive substance, some people have withdrawal symptoms, and these withdrawal symptoms are the exact same symptoms that you experience when you crash on the sugar roller coaster. So mood swings, cravings, sleepiness, fatigue, headache, those kinds of things. And for most people who get off sugar, those cravings last for about 3 days. Some people a day or 2 longer, some people less. So average of about 3 days to deal with the withdrawal symptoms that come with it. I just want to be clear, overconsumption of sugar is linked to a lot of health problems. And I've only put here 2 slides worth of problems, but it contributes to a lot of problems. Higher blood pressure, worsening of cholesterol, increased body weight and increased body fat, diabetes, inflammation all over your body. So inflammation is a good thing when you cut your hand and the cells of inflammation go there to try and repair the damage and try and stop the bleeding. But when you injure blood vessels from eating sugar, the inflammatory response goes there to try to heal the injury, but you keep eating sugar, so you keep doing damage. So you have chronic inflammatory responses going on all over your body, and this is bad. Inflammation was meant to be turned on and turned off in a very short period of time, not to go on for day after day, year after year, okay? So when you have a heart attack, we've seen that inflammation was present prior to the heart attack. And for one of the most common mechanisms of stroke, inflammation is present prior to the stroke. Overconsumption of sugar increases your risk of heart and blood vessel disease, and it increases your mortality related to heart disease. It increases your risk of cancers, of many types of cancers. It ages your skin. We see quite a few people with headaches and migraines that when sugar is the cause, those headaches and migraines go away when they get off of the sugar. Depression and anxiety can occur. There's a complex interaction between the brain and sugar, and some people get very depressed and anxious on sugar. And it's not completely understood how this happens. Alzheimer's disease Sleeping disorders, so trouble getting to sleep and staying asleep. And that's a problem because it makes this cycle of sugar cravings even worse. High sugar intake, it suppresses your immune system, so you may find you get sick more often with colds or flu or infections or even cancers. Sugar intake interferes with the absorption of vitamins and minerals, okay? Sugar rushes down there, knocks them out of the way, and gets into the bloodstream. So if you're eating a lot of junk food, like fast food, that doesn't really have a lot of vitamins and minerals, you're getting even less vitamins and minerals from the food by the time you couple that with sugar. Yeast infections. You can get yeast infections anywhere and everywhere in your body, and Candida yeast loves sugar. So you will crave sugar when you have a yeast infection, usually. Particularly yeast in the gut, you'll crave sugar because they love yeast. Hypoglycemia is the word for low blood sugar. Those are episodes that I used to have, and they're called hypoglycemia, and getting off sugar can actually improve that. So I hope I made a strong case here that sugar is not your friend, and the reason for that is because behind your back, it's doing damage inside your body where you can't see what's going on. I think if we could see inside our bodies what's going on when we eat and we drink and we sit for long periods of time, I think it would change the way we behave, because then we would know. But because it's hidden inside our bodies, you can't really see it till you get sick. So I'd like to challenge you to reframe your thinking toward believing everything that you put in your body either promotes health or disease. Next, I'm going to talk about some very common places where you find excess sugar. I'm going to begin with the major offenders, such as sodas and sweetened drinks. Now, most people know that Coke has some sugar in it, but did you really think about how much sugar that it has? This 12-ounce can of Coke has 10 3/4 teaspoons of sugar. 10 3/4 a teaspoon. If you were to make your own drink, your own tea and your own lemonade, you would sweeten it with perhaps 1 teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons of sugar by the glass. If you were a real sugar addict, you might do 3 or 4, but you would not put 10 3/4 teaspoons of sugar into a 12-ounce can or a 12-ounce cup of your drink. The 20-ounce bottle of Coke, which is what I see most often nowadays, has 16 1/2 teaspoons of sugar. 16 1/2 teaspoons. The 1-liter variety has 27 1/2 teaspoons of sugar. So since Coke has no nutritional value whatsoever, it has no vitamins, no minerals, nothing good for you in terms of fuel, it is liquid candy. There's really not a better thing to call it. Some people drink lemonade because they think lemonade's healthy, right? Well, this pre-packaged lemonade, the 8-ounce cup has 6 3/4 teaspoons of sugar. The 20-ounce bottle has 16 1/2 teaspoons of sugar. This is liquid candy. It has as much sugar as the Coke in it, and I would make your own lemonade. A lot of people are drinking sweet teas. That's been going on for a while, and the labels on the teas are getting they're appealing to your sense or knowledge of what's healthy. So you see the green tea there. A lot of people would think, well, that's healthy, right? It has 10 1/2 teaspoons of sugar in that bottle. And fruit teas are out there nowadays, which would make you think that must be healthy, right? Because it's got fruit in it. Well, the ones here have 11 teaspoons of sugar. This is going to make fat. It's going to put you on the sugar roller coaster, and it's going to wreak havoc on your body. Make your own tea. Some people drink juice because they think, well, juice is better than soda, right? And on some levels, you're correct. But when you juice something, you're removing the fiber from the fruit, and what's left is just the concentrated sugar. And the fiber is the substance that delays the absorption of the sugar so that it gets into the bloodstream just a little bit at a time, much more gradually. It doesn't spike your sugar the way that we see other things do, like Coke. But once you remove the fiber, all bets are off. So now the sugar can get to your bloodstream very quickly and put you on the sugar roller coaster. The other thing about this is one of the healthier varieties of apple juice in that there's no added sugar. Some companies take the concentrated sugar from the fruit and they add more sugar to it. So you have to be careful because you may be getting double the sugar or triple the sugar even. I say just eat the apple instead because it's got the fiber and the vitamins and minerals that you need and it doesn't have stuff you don't need. Orange juice is the same story. The fiber is removed, and so it can spike your blood sugar and you get on the sugar roller coaster when you drink this. So I say eat the orange instead. This is a healthier variety of the orange juice in that it doesn't have added sugars, but still it's got more sugar. This 8-ounce serving has 4.5 teaspoons of sugar, which is more than you really need in one sitting. Some people drink vitamin water. They say, surely that's healthier than Coke, and it's got vitamins in it, right? So that must be good. The 8-ounce serving has 3.25 teaspoons of sugar, and the 20-ounce bottle has 8 teaspoons of sugar. This is better than Coke or your sodas or your teas, but the average person still doesn't need this amount of sugar, and it can get into your bloodstream very quickly. Remember, there's no fiber in it to slow it down. So you can gain weight, and you're going to make fat out of that. There are many, many food items and condiments in the stores that have added sugar in them. And I can summarize it easily by saying it's most of the stuff in the middle of the grocery store. If you stuck to the produce, you'd be doing fine. But once you venture into the middle of the grocery store, all bets are off. So one of the common problems that I see is in low fat, reduced fat, and no fat products. When you take the fat out of something, they have to replace it with something else. Otherwise, you wouldn't eat it because it probably wouldn't taste good. So they started adding sugars, and sometimes you will see 2 and 3 sugars added to it to make it taste good. And of course, once you eat sugar, you're going to crave sugar. So one of the bigger problems that I see is people tell me they eat salads. They eat a lot of salads because they think they're healthy, and that's good. But the salad dressings, particularly low fat, reduced fat, any salad dressing that you're buying at the store may have 2 and 3 sugars added to it. Okay, so the salad dressing serving size is usually just 2 tablespoons, and you need to work towards getting to that size, because more than that adds problems. You don't have to get to 2 tablespoons today. You can gradually reduce till you get there. But if you had a teaspoon of sugar for every 2 tablespoons of salad dressing and you drowned your salad in salad dressing, you can be getting quite a lot of sugar. The other thing that I see is a big problem is yogurt. So if you're eating yogurts that are low fat, no fat, reduced fat, they put 2, 3, and 4 sugars in it. So you're getting a lot of sugar, and it's not a healthy food anymore. Greek yogurts have less sugar, but I usually recommend people get plain Greek yogurt and flavor it yourself because it's high in protein and there are much less sugars. So you just have to be a detective once you get into the middle of the store. The American Heart Association has weighed in on sugar and issued some recommendations. Now, there's no daily requirement for eating sugar. You can make energy from the food that you eat. You don't need to eat sugar to get energy. Okay, your body can do it from natural, wholesome foods. We eat sugar because we love it and we crave it, not because we need it. And so the American Heart Association puts sugar in the category of a treat, okay, which is bad when it's in our yogurt and our peanut butter and every condiment that you can think of, because that sort of means it moved out of treats, but it's really still just a treat. And if you remember when you were growing up, your parents said, eat your dinner before you can have dessert. You're supposed to get your nutrition first. And then if you have discretionary calories, you can have a treat. Now, you have discretionary calories when you're not trying to lose weight and you're active. Okay. If you are not active, you're a couch potato or sit all day while at work and don't really exercise, or you're trying to lose weight, you probably have little to no discretionary calories. But if you have discretionary calories because you're active and you're not trying to lose weight, you may be able to eat some treats without actually gaining weight or having it be a problem. So if you have discretionary calories, then the American Heart Association says for females, limit sugar to 6 teaspoons per day, no more than, and males, limit your sugar to 9 teaspoons per day, no more than. So if you drink a 12-ounce can of Coke, that's 10 3/4 of sugar, and you're already over. And the point I want to make there is if you have discretionary calories or you're going to have a treat, make it special. Choose wisely. Make it something that is enjoyable, that's worth whatever it's going to do to your body. I mentioned earlier that kicking sugar cravings is not about willpower. And the brain actually has this cycle set up in there that makes you continue to eat sugar, crave sugar, and eat sugar. So it starts with some kind of cue, also known as a trigger, some kind of trigger in the environment, like seeing food, smelling food, tasting food, talking about food. Some kind of trigger creates the urge. Okay, and you get the urge to eat something like carbohydrates or something sweet, and you reward yourself by getting it and eating it or drinking it. Okay, and you get your high and you're feeling good, and then when you crash, that serves as its own trigger. When you crash, that is an environmental cue or a trigger that will create urges for more. And you can do this cycle over and over and over and over again. And it's the cycle you need to work on, not so much the willpower. So, how can we defend ourselves? Well, most of us watch TV, and a lot of us probably watch the commercials on TV. And think about it. Does your mouth water when you see some of the food advertised on the television? How about when your mouth waters when the hot, gooey, melted cheese pulls away from the pizza? And just talking about it makes my mouth water. Okay, that serves as its own environmental cue. So think about the food that they're advertising on TV. It is not healthy stuff. They're not advertising apples and mixed greens and green beans and avocado. They're not advertising foods that occur in nature. They're advertising junk. So one strategy is to turn off the commercials. Don't watch them. That works on taking away a trigger, an environmental cue that makes you seek out and get food. Having said that, in general, a lot of people eat while they watch TV. It's become a habit that they go together. And you want to begin to break that habit, okay, because that leads to overeating all by itself, okay? But if we're just talking about that cycle in the brain where you're trying to decrease the cues that create the urges, don't watch the commercials. Minimally, don't watch the commercials. The next thing I want to talk about in terms of strategy is when you find yourself looking in the pantry and looking in the refrigerator for something to eat. What are you doing in there? What's that about? I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I hungry? Do I have hunger pains? And if the answer is no, then start to ask yourself, well, what is it that I want? What is it that I'm feeling? What could these cravings be about? Am I bored? Am I stressed out? Am I happy? You know, some people, when they're excited, they celebrate by eating. Am I angry, sad, lonely? Am I just getting ready to watch TV, so food goes with TV? Explore what that's about, why you're digging in the pantry and why you're digging in the refrigerator. Because the correct intervention for boredom is not eating. And we all know that. So we just have to take a step back. The intervention here in terms of working on that cycle in the brain is not to bring junk food into your house, not to have it in your purse, not to have it in your desk at work, not to have it in your car. Don't put it in your shopping cart. Don't bring it in your environment, because when you're looking in the pantry and you're looking in the refrigerator and you decide you're going to eat something, you're not likely to get in your car to go to the store to get cookies or a brownie. You're more likely to eat what you have there or not eat. So just don't bring it in the house. That's the next strategy. The third strategy has to do with getting a good night's sleep. So the average person needs 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and a lot of people aren't getting that. And the unfortunate thing is that research shows that when you don't get enough sleep, your appetite can increase by as much as 25% when you're tired. So when you're sleeping, your body is repairing and restoring itself. A lot of work is being done while you're sleeping. And if you don't give it adequate time to do that, you're going to be tired. And what happens when you're tired? You're looking for caffeine and you're looking for carbohydrates to pick you up and get you through the day so you're not too tired, right? And so you're on the roller coaster the whole day long, and likely you're going to make fat from that. Can you imagine if you're eating 25% more, or your appetite is increased 25% more, you might actually eat more than 25%. That's huge. So the best thing to do is turn off the commercials, don't have junk in your house, go to bed, get some sleep. How much sleep do you need? You need enough that makes you feel rested in the morning when you wake up. And you can stop the cycle of craving to pick you up. You got the urge to eat or drink because you need a pick-me-up to get you through the day. Strategy number 4 is reading nutrition labels for sugar content. So I discourage people to look at the front of boxes, because the front of the boxes are ads. They are generated with words and pictures. They're created to make you buy impulsively, not to tell you what's healthy. They're going to have words on there that make you think they're healthy, but it's an ad. So ignore the front of the box and look at the nutrition facts on the side or the back of the box, and look at the ingredients list. On the nutrition facts, we see under the words nutrition facts, you see the serving size there is 1 cup. And if you scroll down, you're looking for total carbohydrates, which says 48 grams. And then lower than that, the sugars, it says sugars 18 grams. If you want to know how many teaspoons of sugar that is, you divide the number of grams by 4. So 18 divided by 4 is 4.5. So 1 cup of Raisin Bran has 4.5 teaspoons of sugar. A lot of my clients aren't eating 1 cup of Raisin Bran. They're eating 2, let's say. So if you have 2 cups of Raisin Bran, that's 9 teaspoons of sugar, right? 18 and 18 is 36 grams divided by 4 is 9 teaspoons of sugar. And you haven't added milk, which has its own sugar. That's too much sugar for you to be eating at one time. It's going to put you on the sugar roller coaster. Now, eating it with milk will delay some of the absorption of sugar because it's a fat. But if you're eating no fat milk, you may actually absorb a lot of this sugar very, very quickly and put you on the sugar roller coaster. And within 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to be hungry. Okay, when you look at the ingredients list, what you're looking for is how many times sugar is listed. Okay, do they have a lot of sugar? So the ingredients list are listed in order of quantity. So whole wheat is the predominant ingredient, and then it decreases as the list goes on. Okay, so you look at whole wheat, that's good. Raisins, that sounds good. Wheat bran, that sounds healthy. Then we have sugar, brown sugar syrup, salt, malt, flavoring. Okay, so the words that are highlighted in red are sugars. There are 3 sugars listed in this package. Raisin Bran used to have high fructose corn syrup. They took it out because of all the bad press with high fructose corn syrup, but it still has 3 sugars in it, and we don't know how much of each is added. So the truth might be that if we added all the sugars together, that might actually be the predominant ingredient in Raisin Bran. So my take-home message is this: if sugar is listed as one of the first 3 ingredients on the package, put it back on the shelf and find something else. You want sugar to be far down the list, and you don't want the list to be long, okay? If it's listed in the first 3 ingredients, put it back on the shelf. Find a better choice. If sugar is listed multiple times under different names, you also want to put it back on the shelf. Find something else. If there are names on the list that you can't pronounce and you don't know what they are, it might be a new sweetener, because they're adding new sweeteners all the time. It might be some other chemical that you shouldn't have. So put it back on the shelf and find something else. Okay? So in reading labels, this is in the ingredients list, these are other names for sugar. Now, I actually have a list for you that I'm going to put in the chat window. It's called Other Names for Sugar. I'm just putting that there now. When you click on the link that says Get My Copy, it should take you to a name of the document called Other Names for Sugar, and you can download it and print it. Okay, and what I tell clients to do with this is take a picture of it with your phone so it's with you at all times, and when you're at the grocery store, see how many sugars something has. If it has more than 1, put it back on the shelf, don't get it, because it's too much sugar. Okay, words that end in OSE are sugars. High fructose corn syrup and sweeteners that are high fructose should be avoided because they are digested differently than other sweeteners, other glucose type sweeteners. Fructose will make your triglycerides go up and your good cholesterol go down. It will also create more fat, so just avoid it altogether. You should be able to get that list. As I said, just click on the link there and it should take you to the document where you can download it and print it. These are a list of natural sweeteners. And people ask me all the time, well, what do you use? Well, the first thing I try to do is use fruit. Okay. And if fruit isn't going to get it because it needs something a little sweeter than that, I might try a small amount of raw honey or a small amount of maple syrup or unsulfured molasses. Having said that, just because a sweetener is natural does not mean it doesn't put you on the sugar roller coaster. Okay. You want to use small amounts of sugar. Our taste buds are used to high amounts of sugar, and they can adjust to a lower amount of sugar. They absolutely can. Agave syrup, what's on the shelf, is not natural. It's processed. And unfortunately, it has high fructose, probably the highest fructose sweetener on the market today. So I tell people stay away from it because it's going to make fat and it's going to aggravate your cholesterol. Stevia, what's on the shelf, the powdered form, is coupled with dextrose or maltodextrin. Those are sweeteners, but they don't add them as sweeteners. They add them to stevia as a bulking agent. And for whatever reason, they don't have to record that in the number of grams of sugar because they added it in as a bulking agent, not a sweetener. So the grams of sugar that you see on labels are probably underestimated. They're not overestimated, but they're probably underestimated. So the point here is look at it, see is it more sugar than you should be having, and move on. Okay, stevia, I don't like the taste of it. It's got kind of a bitter aftertaste, but just know that you're getting some sweetener with the dextrose and the maltodextrin in it. So the best sugar alternatives are fruits and your sweet vegetables. So if you have a craving for something sweet, you might want to try a piece of fruit or some sweet vegetables like carrots. That usually will take care of the problem right there. I use a tactic, a strategy with my clients called crowding it out. And so when they have a craving for sweets, I tell them, don't tell yourself you can't have it. What I prefer you do instead is ask yourself, am I hungry? Do I have hunger pains? And if the answer is yes, then eat something healthy first, which means you have to bring healthy foods into your house, into your work area. Okay, you have to bring healthy foods with you to work. Eat that first. A lot of times that will take care of the sugar cravings. And if it doesn't, then you can have the sweet. Okay, but eat something healthy first. Crowding it out is a principle that means you're simply over time replacing the simple, refined, processed foods that don't have a lot of nutrition with whole grains, real foods that look like they came from nature, that are nutrient dense. They have a lot of nutrition in them. So you bring more of those things into your home. Slowly but surely, you start adding more of those and have them visible so you can see them and choose them more and more and more often till you get rid of, you crowd out the refined processed foods. They just overtake those processed foods that I call food-like substances. They're adorned to look like food, but Fruit Loops do not exist in nature. You want to eat carbohydrates that appear in nature. So, for example, Rice-A-Roni with broccoli, for instance, probably doesn't give you, in the whole box, probably doesn't give you a serving of broccoli. And you may not even be able to identify broccoli in it. But if you made brown rice and put your own broccoli in it, those are complex carbohydrates, highly nutritious. You're going to get a serving easily of broccoli, and you're going to get the whole grains from the brown rice, and you're going to be able to see it, and it's going to look like where it came from in nature. So whole grains are very important. You want to get rid of the white rice, white flour, white pasta, white bread, and look more towards whole grains like oats, rolled oats or steel cut oats, brown rice, as I said, brown pasta, spelt, barley, wheat, those kinds of things. My last strategy for dealing with sugar cravings is to drink a glass of water, particularly if you're not on a fluid-restricted diet. Americans tend to be relatively dehydrated. They drink a lot of caffeine and alcohol, and that leaves them a little on the dry side. So sometimes a craving might mean that you are thirsty, you're needing fluids, not sugar. So try drinking a glass of water. Oftentimes your cravings will go completely away, and you'll know you've satisfied an important need for your body, because every cell in your body needs water every day, all the time. And you're losing body water by talking and breathing and shouting at football games and sweating, and so you need to replace it. Flavor in water can be enhanced by making it cold water if you want, or putting lemon or lime or berries or mint, fruit. All those can be infused into water to help the taste, if that will get you to drink a glass of water. So to recap, the 6 strategies that I offered that you can begin today to reduce your sugar cravings are to turn off the commercials, because those are cues or triggers for urges. Okay? Don't bring junk into the house at all. Bring more complex, real foods into your house and have those in your face so you can see them when you open the refrigerator or open the pantry. Get adequate sleep so that you feel rested. That will reduce the urges that you have during the day. Read labels for sugar content. Forget the front of the package. It's an ad. So look at how many grams of sugar and how many times sugar is listed in a product, and whether or not sugar is within the first 3 ingredients. Begin to crowd out sugar by adding more complex, real whole foods into your diet. So whole grains are important. Have vegetables available to you at all times, that you can throw them in your soups and stews. You can throw them in your chili or your spaghetti sauce. You can eat them in a salad. You can eat them as a snack with a dip. You know, the dips can be hummus or something that you make that you enjoy, and begin to crowd out all the junk. And drink water, particularly if you're not on a fluid-restricted diet. Okay, um, Hippocrates lived several centuries ago, and he was a very smart man. He said, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." And that is remarkable because even then they knew how healthy food could be. Because, like a gas for the car, you wouldn't put water in your gas tank because you know your car wouldn't run. Yet you don't mind putting junk in your body even though it doesn't want to run. It'll run for a long time, but eventually it catches up with you. So if you think of food as medicine for your body, how would that change the way you eat? What changes would you need to make sure you're getting good medicine for your body? Okay, while you're thinking on that, I strongly encourage you to make a plan to reduce your sugar intake. I've given you several strategies that you can start right now to improve your health and your well-being. You can reset your taste buds and ultimately eliminate cravings for sugar. You'll notice that weight when they get off the sugar. However, if you want to do more, or you want help with today's sugar goals, we can go deeper. Especially if you're feeling tired all the time or you just don't have the energy to do the things you used to be able to do. In addition, if you have high blood pressure or high cholesterol or heart disease or borderline high blood pressure or borderline cholesterol or heart disease, or a family history of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or heart disease, I can help. I have a 30-day health challenge. The 30-Day Health Challenge is a program that uses food as medicine to help you to improve your energy, improve your blood pressure, your cholesterol, stabilize your blood sugars, and ultimately improve your overall health. My 30-Day Health Challenge takes into consideration all the things we talked about today regarding sugar, and it goes deeper into how you can use food to get better and feel better. In this 30-day program, I cut through conflicting information about what is healthy to eat. As I said earlier, nutrition is one of those areas of science where experts can have completely opposed opinions about what you should eat. So it's difficult to know what you should do when you're trying to eat healthy. And some of you may have already just given up trying to figure out what is healthy to eat, let alone trying to figure out how to fit it into your life. The 30-Day Health Challenge is a personalized program that helps you learn what works best for you. We look at what foods make you feel good and which ones don't. We look at which foods aggravate your cholesterol and your blood sugars and your blood pressure, and which ones make it better. So what I'm going to do here is put a link in the chat for this program, and I'm going to talk about what this link is, how it works in just a second. I am completely astounded that almost 70% of people take at least one prescription medication, and more than half of Americans are taking 2 prescription medicines, and about 20% of Americans are taking 5 or more prescriptions. And every day in my clinic, I'm seeing patients who take 25 and 30 pills a day. It's getting out of control, particularly when you think about medications not really being able to cure some of these diseases that we have, the chronic diseases. So while medications can be helpful to you in terms of reducing the indicators of disease and stabilizing things and reducing your risk for other bad things, they don't cure what you have. The best thing that you can do for yourself is to take an active role in doing things that promote health and reduce the impact and the chances of disease. And remember, I told you research show us that what we eat, what we drink, and what we do contributes to health or disease. A healthy diet can be a powerful tool in the prevention or treatment of chronic diseases like high blood pressure and high cholesterol or even diabetes. And the 30-day challenge is designed to show you a pattern of eating that's a strong foundation for optimal health. It's not a diet plan, it's lifestyle medicine, okay? Let me just tell you how this link works. When you click into this link, it should take you to PayPal. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what that means in just a minute. But after you're finished PayPal, it's very important that you be redirected to a registration page. Okay, so it should take you to a registration page where you put your email and your name, and then you're registered for all 4 classes. Okay. This is a lifestyle medicine course. It begins right off the bat by helping you understand your risk for heart disease. You figure out how high your risk is, and then we work step by step trying to decrease your risk, okay? You progress at your own pace in your own comfort zone. Um, Slow, progressive changes are the best way to go because you can build healthy habits that'll last you a lifetime. You don't usually feel deprived doing it that way. The bottom line is the 30-day health challenge gives you the tools to help you take care of you. It is a group program that meets once a week on a webinar like this one in the comfort of your own space for 4 weeks. If you can't make the live webinar, replays are going to be available. It progresses each week, and I'll walk you through it step by step. And for the people who register for the program, you'll be invited to a private Facebook group. The private Facebook group is only the people in this program, so there aren't going to be other people there. And I find that group members can offer support, inspiration, and ideas and solutions for each other in a group setting. And this is a good way to help each other. And once you get on that Facebook group, if you want to stay on it forever, you can. Today, I am offering a discount for the program. It is $49 to do the 4-week program, and you get everything that you need in that program. I want to help you figure out how to make healthy changes in your life without working overtime or depriving yourself to make it happen. So when you click on that link, as I said, it should take you to PayPal. None of your private information is shared with me. It's a secure site. But again, after you finish with PayPal, it should redirect you to a registration site so that you can register for the program. So paying for it doesn't register you for the program. If it doesn't, then send me a message to let me know that it did not redirect you to register. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I sincerely hope that you found information that you can put to use today, right now. I'm also hoping that you'll join me in the 30-day health challenge. It provides important information and tools that are going to help you forever. Even if you have lapses where you make a choice to do unhealthy things for a while or for a moment, you're going to have tools that will help you get back on track and move forward. This is not a diet plan. This is lifestyle medicine. It is a way of living. So I hope you enjoyed this webinar as much as I enjoyed doing it for you. Take great care of yourself and have a great evening.